Deep in the secluded hills of eastern Kentucky, a story unfolds. A transgender man, living as a hermit, seeks spiritual solace within the Catholic Church. His existence, a quiet testament to his faith, has ignited a firestorm of debate. At the heart of the controversy lies a fundamental question. Can the Church reconcile its traditional teachings with the lived experiences of transgender individuals? The answer, it seems, is far from simple, revealing deep divisions within the Church and society at large. He lives a life of prayer and solitude. His days are spent in contemplation, his connection to the divine a deeply personal one. Yet, his transgender identity has become a point of contention, a challenge to the Church's long-held beliefs on gender and sexuality. Traditionalists view his very existence as an affront to the natural order, a violation of God's design. Progressives, however, see him as a testament to the diversity of human experience, a soul deserving of love and acceptance. The case has garnered national attention, forcing the Church to confront its stance on transgender issues. Caught between unwavering doctrine and a growing awareness of gender identity, the institution finds itself at a crossroads. Can it cling to centuries-old teachings in the face of evolving societal norms? Or must it find a way to embrace the complexities of human identity within its spiritual embrace? The answers to these questions have profound implications for the future of the Church. Bishop John Stowe of Lexington, Kentucky, has emerged as a pivotal figure in this unfolding drama. In a surprising move, Stowe has chosen to embrace Brother Christian Mattson, offering him pastoral care and spiritual guidance. His actions, rooted in compassion and a belief in the inherent dignity of all people, have sent shockwaves through the Church hierarchy. Some view him as a rogue agent, defying Church doctrine in favor of personal conviction. Others, however, see him as a beacon of hope, a symbol of a more inclusive and accepting Church. Stowe's stance is a radical departure from the Vatican's official position on transgender issues. The Church, under Pope Francis, has maintained its traditional teachings on gender, viewing it as binary and immutable. Transgender identities, in the eyes of the Vatican, are seen as a rejection of God's creation, a form of gender ideology that threatens the very fabric of society. Stowe's willingness to challenge this stance has placed him in direct opposition to the highest levels of the Church. Despite facing potential backlash from the Vatican, Stowe remains resolute in his support for Brother Christian Mattson. He argues that his faith is genuine, his desire for spiritual communion a testament to his humanity. To deny him access to the Church, he contends, would be an act of cruelty, a betrayal of the very principles of love and compassion that lie at the heart of Christianity. His actions have sparked a fierce debate within the Church, forcing a reckoning with its own internal divisions. Stowe's embrace of the transgender hermit has not gone unchallenged. Traditionalist Catholics, deeply opposed to any deviation from Church doctrine, have voiced their outrage. They argue that Stowe's actions undermine the sanctity of Catholic teachings, setting a dangerous precedent for future interpretations of Church law. For them, the issue is not one of compassion, but of upholding the integrity of their faith. Conservative Catholic organizations have mobilized, launching campaigns to denounce Stowe and demand his censure. They accuse him of promoting a false gospel, one that prioritizes personal feelings over divine revelation. Their arguments often cite biblical passages and papal pronouncements, emphasizing the Church's long-standing position on gender and sexuality. Any attempt to reinterpret these teachings, they argue, amounts to heresy. The backlash against Stowe highlights the deep chasm that exists within the Catholic Church. On one side stand those who believe that doctrine is immutable, a sacred legacy passed down through generations. On the other side are those who believe that the Church must adapt to the changing times, finding new ways to interpret ancient teachings in light of modern realities. The transgender hermit, in this context, becomes a symbol of this larger struggle, a litmus test for the future direction of the Church. While traditionalists decry Stowe's actions, a growing chorus of voices within the Church has risen to his defense. Progressive Catholics, long advocating for greater LGBTQ+ inclusion, applaud his courage and compassion. They argue that the Church must become a more welcoming space for all, regardless of gender identity or sexual orientation. To deny someone access to God's love, they contend, is antithetical to the very essence of Christianity. Support for Stowe extends beyond the realm of LGBTQ+ advocacy. Many Catholics, while perhaps not fully embracing transgender identities, find the harsh condemnation from traditionalists to be deeply unchristian. They believe that the Church should be a place of love and forgiveness, not judgment and exclusion. These Catholics see Stowe's actions as a reflection of Jesus' own ministry, one that prioritized compassion and outreach to the marginalized. The debate surrounding the transgender hermit has ignited a broader conversation within the Church about the role of doctrine and interpretation. Proponents of a more inclusive Church argue that rigid adherence to literal interpretations of Scripture fails to capture the true spirit of Christianity. They believe that love, compassion, and understanding should guide the Church's approach to complex social issues. The transgender hermit, in this context, becomes a catalyst for a much-needed dialogue about the evolving nature of faith in the 21st century. The situation in Kentucky highlights the delicate balance the Church must strike between upholding its teachings and providing pastoral care for all its members. The Church's catechism clearly states its position on gender and sexuality, but it also emphasizes the importance of compassion and understanding. How can these seemingly contradictory principles be reconciled in practice, particularly when faced with complex cases like that of the transgender hermit? For Bishop Stowe, the answer lies in prioritizing the individual's spiritual well-being. He believes that denying someone access to the sacraments based solely on their gender identity contradicts the Church's mission of spreading God's love. He argues that while the Church's teachings on gender and sexuality remain unchanged, its approach to pastoral care must evolve to reflect the complexities of modern life. Stowe's stance, however, raises questions about the limits of episcopal authority. Can a bishop unilaterally interpret Church teachings in a way that contradicts the Vatican's official position? This question goes to the heart of the Church's hierarchical structure and the balance of power between Rome and local dioceses. The outcome of this debate will have significant implications for the future of Catholicism, particularly as it grapples with increasingly diverse societies and evolving understandings of gender and identity. And the controversy surrounding the transgender hermit, known as Brother Mary, is just one example of the larger struggle facing the Catholic Church in the 21st century. As society becomes increasingly secularized and traditional values are challenged, the Church must find ways to remain relevant and engaging without compromising its core beliefs. This balancing act is proving to be increasingly difficult, particularly on issues related to gender, sexuality, and individual expression. The Church's traditional teachings on these matters are deeply ingrained in its doctrine, shaping its worldview for centuries. However, these teachings often clash with the lived experiences of many Catholics, particularly younger generations, who have grown up in a world that is more accepting of diversity. This disconnect between official doctrine and the realities of modern life has led to growing disillusionment among some Catholics, prompting calls for reform and a more inclusive approach. The Church now faces a critical choice: cling to its traditional teachings, risking further alienation from those it seeks to serve, or find ways to reinterpret its doctrine in light of modern sensibilities. This is not a simple task, as any significant departure from established dogma is likely to be met with fierce resistance from traditionalists within the Church. Yet, the need for dialogue and discernment has never been greater, as the Church seeks to navigate the complexities of the 21st century without losing sight of its fundamental mission. The case of the transgender hermit in Kentucky has implications that extend far beyond the borders of a single diocese. It shines a light on the broader debate surrounding transgender rights and religious freedom, a debate that is playing out in courtrooms and legislatures across the globe. As transgender individuals gain greater visibility and acceptance, religious institutions are grappling with how to reconcile their own beliefs with changing societal norms. This tension is particularly acute in the United States, where the separation of church and state often leads to legal challenges when religious beliefs clash with anti-discrimination laws. The question of whether religious institutions should be exempt from laws that protect LGBTQ+ individuals from discrimination is a complex one, with strong arguments on both sides. The outcome of these legal battles will have a profound impact on the relationship between religion and the state, shaping the landscape of religious freedom for years to come. The transgender question also presents a challenge to the Catholic Church's global reach. In many parts of the world, particularly in the developing world, the Church's teachings on gender and sexuality are deeply ingrained in local cultures and traditions. Any attempt to soften the Church's stance on these issues could be met with resistance, not only from within the church hierarchy, but also from local populations. Balancing the need for cultural sensitivity with a desire for greater inclusivity is a delicate task, one that will require careful consideration and nuanced approaches. Section 8, Seeking Common Ground. A path forward through dialogue and understanding. The debate surrounding the transgender hermit in Kentucky is a microcosm of the larger challenges facing the Catholic Church and society as a whole. It highlights the urgent need for open and honest dialogue about complex issues, particularly those that intersect with deeply held beliefs and values. Finding a path forward will require empathy, understanding, and a willingness to engage in respectful conversation, even when there are fundamental disagreements. The Church, with its emphasis on love, compassion, and the inherent dignity of all people, has the potential to be a powerful force for healing and reconciliation. However, to achieve this potential, it must be willing to confront its own biases and prejudices, acknowledging the pain and suffering caused by past injustices. This requires listening to the voices of those who have been marginalized and excluded, creating space for their stories to be heard and their experiences to be validated. The path forward for the Church and for society as a whole lies in embracing the principles of dialogue, understanding, and respect for human dignity. This means moving beyond simplistic binaries and acknowledging the complexities of human identity. It means recognizing that faith and reason are not mutually exclusive, but can coexist and even complement each other. Most importantly, it means remembering that at the heart of every debate, behind every label, lies a human being deserving of love, compassion, and respect. For more Christian news and commentary, subscribe to our daily newsletter.